Hello everybody, welcome back to Planet X News, May 1st, 2019, and what a beginning to May, ladies and gentlemen. Right now, we have a lot of flooding in the central part of the United States. Davenport, Iowa was hit pretty hard over the last 24 hours, and we're going to get into some of that information. Also, the state of Texas, Mississippi, a lot of the central states just absolutely devastated. Also, a very, very large cyclone has formed off of the eastern coast of India, and over the next couple of days, they are probably going to be in a disaster mode. This is kind of rare during this time of year. We're going to take a look at all of that. And I also wrote up a complete article on the Planet X News website detailing all of this information. It is available right now on the Planet X News Facebook page and the website. I'm going to go ahead and get our live chat set up. It's about 7 minutes to 9 a.m. here on the East Coast. And maybe some of you are just getting up. I've been up since 4 a.m. Getting all these weather alerts. They're just literally just pouring in right now. And, folks, I actually mentioned this last night. And I was seeing some, well, let's just say, what looked to be some pretty severe weather events that were about to occur in the central part of the United States. And, once again, folks, I may be underestimating the power of this weather. I personally didn't think that it was going to end up this bad, but it did. I'm going to go ahead and jump out of this thumbnail here real quick, and we're going to go ahead and just jump right over to the Planet X News website. And like I said, I compiled all of this information first thing this morning. Severe weather alert for the central part of the United States today, May 1st. And large cyclone set to hit India. And folks, there's a lot of information here. I'm not going to read all of this right now. But if you live anywhere in the central part of the United States, and, this is going to be possibly heading towards the East Coast. Some of the information and the data is not in just yet, but probably within the next 4 to 8 hours, we're going to get a better view of how this storm system is going to move across the United States or possibly move straight up into Canada. So for all of the Canadians that listen to Planet X News, listen, I know you guys have been under the gun with all of the flooding up there in eastern Canada, and you may have more of it coming. Like I said, I will know more in approximately 4 to 6 hours. We'll see how it comes. But you can see, I'm going to go over all of these thumbnails with you, not on the website, but just to let you see what is actually here. There's a lot of information here. There were a lot of tornadoes that spawned yesterday. There are some tweets by AccuWeather showing these tornadoes. Somebody sent me a video of a massive, massive tornado in Romania, and just looking at the short video is absolutely terrifying. They were very brave to stay there and take that video. Not me. I would have been gone. But there's a lot of information here to ingest. Also, Tulsa, Oklahoma, it's not looking good. A lot of rain. They're going to be under the gun probably for the next 24 to 48 hours. We will see. There's a lot of videos here that have been embedded into this article. Unfortunately, I can't show these to you on YouTube because these are not for broadcasting. However, you can click on the link I'll put it in the live chat here in a few minutes, or just go to the planetxnews.org website and check it out yourself. This was in the Ozarks and Rogersville, Missouri. Just absolutely devastating tornadoes. And this happened at night, folks. Just the worst possible time. There is more drone footage by a weather channel. And once again, these videos here, they're not for broadcast. But you can go click on the link and you can check out the devastation. This was from Wheaton, Missouri. And again, this was overnight from last night into early this morning. There are more tweets, as you can see, very, very severe tree damage, houses that have received quite a bit of damage. This little short video was taken from the GOES 16 satellite by Nick Stewart. He captured this supercell that was developing in Texas. And I want you to check this out because this is incredible. Watch it right there. That is just, I don't know if you guys, if you're not a weather watcher, you may not think that's impressive, but that is impressive. And that is what starts these large storm cells. And that was considered a supercell, and that was right over Texas. And that did develop into a hellacious storm. Once again, here is Charlie, Texas. This is another tornado that touched down. Once again, unfortunately, I can't broadcast this on YouTube. However, it is available within this article on the planetxnews.org website. A lot of information here, folks, for all of you to read. Also, the website, Stormwall, they have weather chasers all over the United States. And just over the last 24 hours, you can click on this link. It's a big box right here at the bottom of the article. And you can go over here and you can click on it, go directly to their website, and you could start to view all of the damage that has occurred over the last 12 hours, actually. And unfortunately, this is a photograph of Davenport, Iowa, that was taken this morning by a drone. And you can see the devastation already. I was getting reports at about 6 o'clock this morning that there were some sections of Davenport that were 6 feet underwater. And yes, that's the great old Mississippi River right there overflowing its banks. And right now, you can see this is just a clip from Iowa going into the state of Illinois. All of the river gauges that are, they're at flood stages. You look at the little purple dots right here and check the gauge over here. That's major flooding, folks. Major flooding. Just a little bit north. They have some moderate flooding, but that's definitely going to increase. And I included the information for Cyclone Fanny. What a name, huh? All of a sudden, over the last 24 hours, this massive cyclone has formed off of the eastern coast of India, and it's towards the southern part of the country right now. And this is kind of unusual for this time of year. This cyclone is going to be very, very devastating for the coastal region, the East Coast region, leading all the way up into the northern region of India. And I believe, from what I've been seeing already, they are going to have a tremendous amount of damage due to high winds, but mainly flooding. I'm going to be keeping my eye on this storm. If this storm happens to pick up speed and moves very, very quickly, maybe the flooding will be minimized, but it's not looking that way. It's looking like it's possibly going to stall as it gets further north into the country. And if it does that, folks, we can see absolutely life-threatening and devastating flooding into the northeastern part of India. And this is just giving you some more of the tropical cyclone forecast from Thursday, Friday, leading into Saturday, and all the way up into Sunday. So you can see this is not just going to be a 1 or 2 day event. This is going to be several days. And there's also more diagrams here and charts that talk about Fanny and the wind surge. And you can see this is a monster. We're going to be looking at it on the satellite here in just a few minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and jump out of this article, and I will give all of you the link for this real quick. I'll put it in the live chat, and you guys can check it out and share it on your social media, Facebook, Twitter, whatever you guys want to do. And we're going to go ahead and just check this out real quick. I already have the radar pulled up on the GOES 16, and this is all current right now, folks. And you can see this was monstrous here, and it is still developing. It's kind of hard right now to gauge if this is just going to dissipate and move up over the state of Michigan and into eastern Canada, or if the jet stream is going to start picking this up with higher level winds and move it directly eastward. If that happens, then you're going to have states like Ohio, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, where I'm at, Virginia, and the Carolinas, definitely the state of New York, New Jersey, all of the smaller states along the eastern seaboard. They'll definitely be under the gun within the next 24 to 36 hours. And depending on air temperatures, because there is a lot of warm air that's moving up from the Gulf of Mexico, if it combines, there is definitely going to be very, very severe thunder and lightning storms, and possibly very, very heavy downpours of rain. You know, yesterday I was taking my little mid-afternoon nap, and what was it, about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, this crack of thunder, just one, that's all it was, just one huge crack of thunder, literally scared me to death. I thought a bomb went off, but it was just one crack of thunder. And that's what actually woke me up and alerted me to that coronal mass ejection that occurred midday, and just absolutely amazing. Maybe it was some kind of a sign. I don't know. But I finished up the enhancement on those few photographs, and probably later on today we'll get into some of that. But yeah, this is not looking too good, folks. You can see right here the states that are going to be under the gun, and the possibilities of tornadoes spawning during these types of supercell storms is very, very high. So if you live anywhere, let's just say for today, anywhere from Oklahoma all the way over to the East Coast, please be very careful and maybe keep an eye on the weather from hour to hour. And you know, folks, if you like to download apps on your cell phone, you know, instead of downloading games and other things like that, get yourself a good weather app, one that allows you to put in your zip code, and one that gives you alerts, severe weather alerts, tornado alerts, something. Because, folks, let's be realistic. People have already lost their lives over the past 12 hours. So let's not be a victim. You know, let's use our head. These weather patterns are going to continue to get worse. And what I see becoming a very, very big problem is these weather patterns are just literally coming out of nowhere. Their development is so fast that if you don't have some type of alert system and you happen to leave work and it doesn't look like much at that moment. Within 5 or 10 or 15 minutes, the next thing you know, you may possibly be driving into one of these supercell storms and immediate flooding of roads and, small tributaries, streams, rivers, things of that nature, because that flooding that moved into Davenport, Iowa, just came out of nowhere. And it also caused a few levees to break. And when those levees broke, well, that's it. More water spilled in. And I believe in some of those areas, that's where the water level rose to 6 feet. And it doesn't take much, folks, to wash a car off the road. During some of these tornadoes last night, there was a charter bus. Thank God the bus was not full of people. It was just the driver. And with these winds and high-profile vehicles, it literally just blew his bus right over onto its side and slid down the highway. So, driving these high-profile vehicles, SUVs, tractor-trailer trucks, delivery vans, things of that nature, you are going to be at risk. So that's my best advice. Get yourself one of these weather apps. Get a good one. Hey, listen, even if you have to pay $1.99 for it, or even if there's a monthly fee, it's worth it. The $1.99 or whatever the monthly fee is, if there is one, I think that little bit of money is worth your life. Or if you're a weather watcher like me, you're always keeping track of it. But folks, I work from home. I know a lot of you have regular, normal lives and jobs, and you can't be watching the weather 24/7. And as we continue with all of this crazy weather, I'm going to keep up on it. And when I see things like this happening, you will hear from me. Whether it's 4 o'clock in the morning, 9 o'clock in the morning, midnight, whenever, you will definitely hear from me. So you can also set your notifications for Planet X News. Make sure that's secure. The boob tube likes to play around with those notifications. If you have a cell phone with a YouTube app on it, make sure you have the notifications set properly on your YouTube app. Because if you don't, you won't get the notifications. Just a little tip. I'm going to go ahead. We're going to try to get catch a view of this cyclone over there in India. We're only going to be able to catch a small side view of it because of the positioning of the GOES satellite. I'm just going to go ahead and change this color. We're going to get into the clean infrared long wave window, and here we go. We're going to try to go ahead and zoom into it. Oop, it's a little too much. This is the coast of India right over here, and it's kind of an awkward view, but again, folks, because of the positioning of the GOES satellite, we don't get that straight on view. I'll zoom in just a little bit more. And you can see on the infrared view, that is an absolute monster of a cyclone. And right now, it was moving directly towards the shoreline of central India. And all of a sudden, it started to take a jaunt directly north. So that's what they were worried about, because now they will be on the northwestern side of the rotation. That will bring in the surge, the water surge, and also the highest winds. The problem right now with this cyclone is if it continues to stay offshore and skirt the coastline, the more damage that it is going to do. And by the looks of it, and looking at some of the predictor models, that's exactly what it's going to do until it moves up to the northeastern part of India. And it looks like this is going to be a pretty devastating storm. It's also very impressive, and it literally just came out of nowhere, folks. And that's what I was saying. You know, these storms, they're just coming out of nowhere, and that is the most dangerous thing. You know, when we don't get that much of a warning, and then all of a sudden, bingo, we have a very deadly situation with a cyclone, typhoon, and it's May 1st. We're 1 month away from the start of hurricane season in the Atlantic, the tropics, and the Gulf of Mexico. So this is probably going to be a crapshoot this year, and we may see some very, very intense hurricanes. And from what I'm seeing, we may see some very intense hurricanes brewing in the Caribbean and just south in the Gulf of Mexico. And those hurricanes have a tendency to swing right up into the Gulf of Mexico, like we saw Hurricane Harvey, and just do a lot of damage. So once again, folks, let's start thinking about preparation in some way, some form, because that little bit of preparation may save your life and your family's. I am actually watching a system right now that is south of Australia, just right off of the coast. And we're starting to see some rotation here. We don't have enough data off of the GOES satellite just yet. And if this actually intensifies and more moisture gets in here, more rotation, this will eventually batter the entire southern coast of South Australia. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on that for the rest of today and probably into tomorrow. But you can see the circulation. I don't think it's going to pick up a lot of moisture down below, which is very, very close to the Arctic region. But it does have some really, really good rotation already starting to form, and it seems to be pretty tight. If we zoom in here, you can see it starts to look like it's trying to gather its formation. But I'm seeing some wind shearing up there, and when you see those little tiny little lines up there, that's signifying some wind shear. So hopefully some upper level winds destroy this, and maybe they just get a little bit of rain on the coast. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. I'm going to go ahead and jump back over here to the west coast, and we're going to see what's brewing over here. Just give me 1 second. I'm going to go ahead and change this to the infrared long view. So the west coast looks pretty good. Looking back towards the east from this view, you can see how monstrous that storm was over the last 8 to 12 hours and how fast it developed. And I mean, that literally developed just lickety-split, and bingo. The tornadoes spawned, heavy downpours of rain, flooding, high winds. And there you go. So let's hope that, nobody lost their lives in this storm cell, but it looks like it is moving northeast. And again, I'm going to go ahead and track that for the rest of the day and see how that turns out. But the west coast looks pretty good. Doesn't look like much is happening out there. And once again, you can start to see how these huge circulations start to form. And I mean, this is definitely a cause of what's happening in our jet stream. Our jet stream is very, very erratic, and we're getting combinations of these low pressure systems combining with these high pressure systems. And that is just a catalyst for a disaster. And, to be honest with all of you folks, I think as we move into the month of May and June, and our temperatures start to change, I think this battle between these low pressure systems and these high pressure systems, I think they're going to be like a daily occurrence. And that's where we get into that danger zone. So again, this is just a word of caution. Don't be a statistic, please. And if you know that you're going to be in a flooding situation, don't drive down those flooded roads. Don't think just because you have an SUV or a pickup truck that you could make it through, because if you don't and you get trapped and the water rises faster, well, I don't have to tell you what can actually happen. But I'm going to go ahead and jump out of here real quick. We'll get rid of that, and you guys have the link to the article. And we're going to go ahead and just jump into some quick photos here. And like I showed you in the article, oh boy, you know, this was a drone aerial photograph this morning of Davenport, Iowa. I was listening to a news brief from the mayor of Davenport, and I could see the shocking look on his face. And then when some of the reports were coming out about the depth of the water, 6 feet, 6 feet of water. Well, look, I'm only 5'9", 6 feet of water, that'd be over my head. But pretty devastating. You can see how far back, if you start to look in back here into some of these streets, and this is a pretty good high definition photograph. These streets are partially flooded all the way back here. So they don't have any idea either on an estimate of when this water is going to recede, because so much of it came in at once, and there were several levees that broke. So that is going to be a pretty big issue. We're going to go ahead and jump to the next photo here. And once again, this is just showing you the river gauges for Iowa and the state of Illinois. Major, moderate, minor. You can see the color code up here. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. You have 12 areas here along the river that are in major flood stage. 12. That's pretty bad. And remember, folks, I was just saying the other day that the central part of the United States is going to be under the gun. And the reason being is we still have a lot of that snow melt in parts of northern Minnesota, the northern states along the Canadian border. That's going to start melting very, very rapidly. Once that starts, well, there you go. We're going to start having the rivers, streams, tributaries filling up. And with the influx of heavy rains, well, there's your catalyst for an instant disaster within a very, very short amount of time. I kind of mixed up these slides. This is what I was referring to about India. This is the cyclone Fanny that's going to be moving in. And you can see where it's located right down here at the bottom of your screen by tomorrow. And they're going to be getting into tomorrow, probably about close to right now because of the time difference. But you could see 120 mile an hour winds through Thursday midday, and it's going to be battering the southern coast, moving straight up into the northern part of India. And I think this is going to be a pretty bad situation for them. Here is a different slide, different model, giving you just about the same. And you can see where it's going to be moving up and through Bangladesh. And these are very, very, very heavily populated areas too, folks. That's another thing. The population is millions of people. So probably by late Friday going into Saturday sometime, we're probably going to be getting some very, very bad reports out of this section of the world. And yeah, it's going to be a sad situation. This is just another chart showing you through Thursday at 9 p.m. over in India, and you can see this storm, the surge anticipated is supposed to be pretty heavy right along that stretch that you see right here. Now that's not going to move very, very far inland. This area of India is mountainous. The elevations are pretty high. But once again, folks, moving into here, this is a very, very heavily populated area. So don't let that fool you. Just because that little strip of red doesn't look that big, there are millions of people there. Millions. And once again, this is just giving you the rainfall outlook for this storm. Cyclone Fanny. And this is actually through the weekend. So they're going to be under the gun for, as it states right there on your graph, possible life-threatening storm surge and flooding through all of these areas, all of these regions. And then that's going to be moving straight north into some of these other countries. And there is a very heavily populated area just north of Bangladesh. Once again, you know what's going to happen. Just taking a quick look at today, the severe weather threat. You can see, if you're not colorblind, the whole entire region in red. Let me take a sip of my creme brulee coffee here for a second, folks. Just let that map soak in for a second. Damn, I make the best coffee. Maybe I was a barista in another life. But anyways, folks, you see the heading over here to the upper left. Possible impacts, tornadoes, damaging winds, hail, and flooding rain. I mean, did they forget anything? I think they covered it all. So, again, this is going to be one hell of a storm system to watch over the next 8 to 12 hours, and then to see how it is going to work its way either north or northeast across the United States. Moving into today, this was for 8 a.m., and this was just giving you some temperatures, and that was another factor that I was just talking about, these low pressure systems and these high pressure systems. So you would have the low pressure system right up here where I'm circling my cursor. And then you would have the high pressure system right down here. Right where they collide together, that's where you're going to see the worst part of the weather and the possibilities for the tornadoes. And this is going into tomorrow, Thursday, at around 10 a.m. And as you can see, this weather system is not going away. So you still have the low pressure system sitting up here around Kansas City, warmer temperatures down here with a high pressure system. And again, it's going to continue to cause these weather events in this area. So again, folks, if you live in any of these areas, now they have this pegged for Thursday, the possible impacts, again, damaging winds, hail, flooding rain, and kind of a low tornado threat, but that can change in a matter of minutes, and that's going to be stretching from San Antonio, Dallas, Memphis, Cincinnati. That's going to head right through my area here in Pittsburgh and curve all the way over into Washington, D.C. Maybe they'll flood the swamp and rid it of all of those dirty, filthy politicians. Once again, moving into Friday, again, possible impacts, damaging winds, hail, flooding rain, low tornado threat. That's a good thing, folks, but all of this rain It is supposed to be heavy. Not just quarter inch or half inch, but inches. Inches. And you can see there's a pretty good threat right over here for the DC area. And once again, yeah, maybe it will wash out some of the scum in the swamp in Washington, D.C. Moving through Friday, take a look at your graph to the upper right here, and you see the color-coded graph. And in this swath between Texas and Missouri, oh my goodness, that's 3 to 5 inches and possibly 5 to 8 inches in this small patch right here. Oh, Lord. Wow. Yeah, a lot of rain here, folks. Austin, 2 to 3 inches. Dallas, 2 to 3 inches. Oh, my Lord. Springfield, 1 to 2. Texarkana, 3 to 5. Cleveland, about an inch. I'll probably get about an inch or more over here in the Pittsburgh area. This is not looking good for St. Louis. 2 to 3 inches of rain. And here's the problem, folks, once again, leading down all the way through the Mississippi. And if you remember what I said just a few weeks ago, what was it, about 2 weeks ago, and even last week, I mentioned that this Mississippi Valley area, these states are just, they are in the path of destruction for quite a long time. I mean, this may possibly go on through the whole entire spring and the summer if this weather pattern continues. And because of the erratic jet stream, if it keeps on pushing these low pressure systems down through Canada into the upper parts of the north central part of the United States, and then naturally, we'll have high pressures down here in the Gulf of Mexico. If they continue to bang heads around this area, that's it. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure this out. It is not going to be a good time for these folks in any of these states, any of these regions, and especially along the Mississippi. Yeah. Definitely not looking good, folks. But I wanted to bring all of this weather information to you guys as soon as possible this morning. Once again, if you live in any of these areas, please take the time, make sure that you have things secured at your houses. If you have things outside that can possibly blow around, or, we had some heavy winds here not too long ago. And I was telling a friend of mine, I said, hey, man, you know how you're always complaining how you have to go pick your big black garbage cans up because they blow in the wind? I said, why don't you take those in your garage? And he said, oh, no, they'll be fine. They'll be fine. Well, we had one of those heavy windstorms that whipped through the Pittsburgh area. And in the middle of the night, he heard this huge crash. And believe it or not, the wind actually caught the big black garbage can and drove it straight through his sliding glass door. Shattered it into a billion little pieces in the middle of the night with rain and high winds. So he didn't have a big piece of plywood hanging around. And, in the middle of the night, what are you going to do? Call the window guy to bring me a new sliding glass door? No. He wasn't able to get it fixed until 10 o'clock in the morning later that day. So just as a precautionary measure, you know what's about to happen over the next couple of days and possibly straight through this weekend. You're looking at it. Heed the warning, folks. But later on today, maybe late afternoon or going into the evening, I'll have another live stream. I'm going to see if Mark's going to be available from the Blue Kool-Aid channel. We're going to go over some information on what's happening with our magnetosphere again. I've been up since about 4 a.m. checking on all of this. And we've taken some pretty good hits with our magnetosphere. And there was another small CME blast on the backside of the sun. I am now finding out that these blasts are associated with the sunspot 2738 and 39. I also have the enhanced photographs. Took care of all of that this morning. We'll take a preview look at all of those. And, hopefully we could get together with Mark maybe like around 8 p.m. Eastern time. So, folks, once again, heed the warning. Check your weather. Stay in tuned. Stay subscribed to Planet X News. And you guys will hear from me probably around 8 p.m. Eastern time tonight. This is Scott from Planet X News. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your support. Listen, folks, please heed the warning. The weather is not looking good. And remember what I said. From this point on, the weather is going to be our worst enemy. Take care, folks. Be safe today.